Beneath the shimmering expanse of stars over Mount Elgon, the night murmured its ancient lore. Constellations, like cryptic messages from the heavens, traced their stories across the velvet sky. An elder, eyes gleaming with the wisdom of countless generations, passed these secrets to his young successor. In those times, the world was an intricate web of nature's design. People read the behaviors of animals and plants, trying to unlock the language of the universe itself. But it was the stars that held the greatest mysteries, guiding toward both prosperity and peril. The sun nurtured life, while the heavens steered the path of those who walked the earth. Shadows of celestial animals raced across the night sky, each embodying its own tale of survival. Soon, a mysterious visitor would descend from the stars, the turtle-tailed comet. This celestial wanderer, enigmatic and foreboding, carried the potential for creation or destruction. Cosmic forces beyond human grasp were poised to tip the scales of the world. To survive, one had to decipher the signs. The young heir's moment had arrived. Before the comet's light streaked the sky, he had to unite the tribes and lead them in the hunt for the elusive horned antelopes. This hunt was no mere test of skill, but a ritual to stave off the approaching doom and usher in a new age. What would the stars reveal in this delicate dance of fate? Life or death? The young heir believed he knew, but only time would unveil the truth to all. The sun blazed mercilessly over the endless savanna, where antelopes grazed in blissful ignorance. Beneath the serene facade of the plains, however, a storm was silently brewing. The sky, dotted with constellations that whispered of change, hinted at a fate far greater than any of them could grasp. The young seer felt the weight of destiny pressing heavily on her shoulders. She had seen the signs in the stars, and she knew this hunt was more than a simple fight for survival. It was a moment that would forever alter the course of their history. As the tribes gathered, old rivalries simmered just beneath the surface. Warriors exchanged wary glances, each remembering past conflicts, each cautious of future betrayal. Yet for the young seer, this hunt held a fragile hope, a chance to unite the fractured tribes in a way no leader before her had. She felt the pressure of tradition pulling her one way, and the needs of her people pulling her in another. The weight of responsibility was suffocating, but the stars had spoken. This was her test, and she couldn't afford to fail. The first tribe moved into position, slipping like shadows through the tall grass. Every step was deliberate, every movement calculated. Their mission, to encircle the herd and guide them toward the narrow pass. The antelopes, still unaware of the danger closing in, continued to graze in peaceful oblivion. The young seer watched, her breath held tight. She had meticulously planned every detail, but doubt gnawed at her. Would the tribes follow her lead when the moment of truth arrived? As the antelopes were funneled toward the pass, the air grew thick with tension. The other tribes, scattered along the outskirts, communicated with subtle gestures, each movement synchronized, their coordination flawless. This was not just a hunt. It was a delicate dance of trust and precision. One misstep from any tribe could send the entire plan into chaos, and the young seer knew that the fragile unity she had worked so hard to build would shatter. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the stillness, shattering the fragile calm. The antelopes bolted, their hooves pounding the earth like a heartbeat gone wild. The young seer's heart raced as the hunters sprang into action, stone-tipped spears and heavy clubs whistling through the air with brutal precision. The savanna, moments ago bathed in golden sunlight, transformed into a chaotic battleground. Blood stained the earth as antelopes fell one after another, victims of the tribe's coordinated assault. But even as the dust settled and the bodies of the fallen lay scattered across the plains, the young seer knew the hunt was far from over. The real test was about to begin. The tribes gathered to divide the spoils, and the tension that had briefly subsided returned in full force. One leader, known for his arrogance, stepped forward. His eyes gleamed with greed as he claimed more than his share, his actions a direct challenge to the fragile peace the young seer had forged. The others stood in uneasy silence, but the betrayal was clear. What had started as a unified effort was unraveling before their eyes, consumed by selfish ambition. The young seer's chest tightened as she watched the unity she had fought so hard to build begin to slip away. Anger surged within her, not just at the greed of this leader, but at the fragility of the peace she had so desperately hoped to preserve. The elders whispered among themselves, their voices heavy with ancient wisdom. "The balance is broken," they murmured. "This is no longer a sacred hunt. It has become a contest of greed." But the young seer refused to let this moment define their future. Stepping forward, her heart pounded in her chest, yet her voice remained calm and steady. The eyes of every warrior, elder, and hunter turned to her. She spoke, her words carrying the weight of prophecy and authority. "The bear has not yet left its den," she began, her gaze unwavering. "For now, the serpent must lead. We must bide our time." The words hung in the air, laden with meaning. Slowly, the tension eased. The greedy leader, though still defiant, backed down, unwilling to challenge the young seer's authority openly. For now, the fragile peace was restored. But the young seer knew it was only a temporary reprieve. Inside, doubt and fear gnawed at her. Had she truly quelled the unrest, or had she merely delayed the inevitable? As the tribes dispersed, returning to their own fires, the young seer looked up at the stars. They flickered silently above, as if mocking the turmoil below. The true battle was yet to come, not just between the tribes, but within herself, as she grappled with the burden of leadership and the weight of the destiny that had been placed upon her. In the vast plains surrounding Mount Elgon, young Kara had learned to move like the wind, silent and unseen. Today, he followed a path carved by generations of ancient beasts. The elephants he tracked were his teachers as they moved toward Kitum Cave, a place of mystery and forgotten time. The elephants' movements were deliberate, as if driven by something deeper than instinct. They sought the cave for reasons unknown to Kara, but he knew it was here that he would find answers. Inside Kitum Cave, the elephants dug their tusks into the rock, pulling chunks from the walls, then lifting the pieces to their mouths. What were they seeking in the darkness, in the heart of the earth? Was it salt? A gift of life from the stones? Kara watched from the shadows, his curiosity deeper than his fear. To avoid detection, Kara concealed himself among the remains of creatures long dead. The scent of decay hung in the air, but one thing stood out: a carcass, preserved in an impossible state, its flesh untouched by time. Why had it not rotted? He cut a piece, wrapped it carefully, and slipped away before the elephants noticed. As the sun sank below the horizon, Kara returned home, clutching the strange piece of meat he had taken from the cave. His father, a man of few words but many lessons, awaited him by the fire. Kara knew this was more than a discovery. It was the beginning of a journey beyond the village, beyond the plains. In the eyes of his father, Kara saw understanding. He had taught Kara that the earth hides its secrets, revealing them only to those who dare to seek. Kara was no longer a boy of the tribe. He was something more. He had tasted the unknown, and now there was no turning back. From the moment he could walk, Kara's father had taught him to listen to the language of the wild. Every creature, every breeze, carried a story, a lesson. He learned how the herds moved across the savannah, how the ants created their kingdoms, how the lions stalked their prey under the cover of darkness. He learned to survive not with brute strength, but with the wisdom of nature. On the night before his journey, Kara walked with his father one last time beneath the stars. The night was clear, and the sky stretched endlessly above them. The stars held a map, one that Kara had studied for as long as he could remember. The constellations were not just points of light. They were guides. His father had shown him how to read the sky, how to find his way by the stars. When your time comes, his father had told him, the heavens will show you the path. Kara knew now that his time had come. With the weight of his father's lessons on his shoulders, Kara made ready to leave the village. He was not leaving for adventure or conquest. He was leaving to find the truth, the hidden threads that wove the fabric of his world. His weapons were simple, a hand axe of stone, the skin on his back, and the wisdom of the wild. Kara walked into the dawn, the sun rising behind him, casting long shadows across the savannah. Ahead lay the unknown, but behind him, the lessons of the past burned brightly. He would find the answers he sought, but they would come at a cost. The journey was not about discovery alone. It was about becoming part of the wild, about understanding the balance of life and death. The wild was his teacher, the stars his guide. Kara's journey had begun, and with it, the story of a life forever intertwined with the mysteries of the earth. In this cave bearing the marks of time, the sage's final hours were approaching. As the shadows of the fire danced on the walls, he prepared to impart the wisdom of the past. The tribal leaders and great hunters stepped into the dark entrance of the cave. They'd been summoned to hear the sage's words. Gathering his last strength, the sage began to speak. For many years I have guided you. I have told you the language of nature. Now my time is up, but the order will continue. The leaders and hunters respectfully departed from the sage's presence. However, the young guide, Maru, remained by his side to receive his master's last advice. Maru, read nature. Watch the sun. Follow the shadows. When foxes run across the sky, expect disasters. Do not forget our knowledge and choose your successor wisely. And so, the sage of the mountain fell into his final sleep. The foxes in the sky had begun to run. As the era waned, the heavens shifted. The star of the bear, Polaris, took its throne in the sky, guiding all who dared to dream beyond. Beneath its light, the tribes felt a new dawn stirring in their bones. Yet on Earth, a fire brewed, the fire of differences. Conflict spread like shadows across the land, and those defeated had no choice but to journey onward. In the face of clashing differences, conflict erupted, and peace gave way to war. The defeated, wearied and worn, left behind the only home they knew, their footsteps heavy with loss. Their journey had just begun. Amidst the chaos stood Alta, the seer, gifted with the language of the stars. She called to the leaders and spoke of the north, of a land where the earth bloomed with green, and life awaited those who dared to find it. Her voice was woven with wisdom, her eyes alight with visions of a new beginning. They journeyed north, bound by Alta's words and the stars above. Each step a prayer, each glance a farewell. They would cross mountains and plains, their spirits holding the weight of an ancient world left behind. Each step claimed a sacrifice, the laughter of a child, the wisdom of an elder, the strength of a warrior, all left in the dust of this unknown path. But with every loss, their resolve only deepened. They would not turn back. Their tools were crude but strong, sharpened stones, woven baskets, spears hewn from wood. Their hands bore the marks of survival, crafting each tool not just to live, but to create and protect. They had become the architects of their fate. The Green Sahara opened its arms, a land of promise and plenty. They had found what they sought, though it demanded their strength and will. In these new lands, they would build anew, carving hope from earth and sun. Yet among them were those who felt the pull of a further journey. They had tasted the unknown, and it spurred them onward, their eyes fixed on lands unseen. Beyond the horizon lay a boundless expanse, and they could not ignore its call. The great sea met them with ancient tides, testing their will. But they pressed on, driven by the yearning for new lands. And when the journey seemed endless, the distant shore rose to greet them, their dream made real. In those distant valleys, they found life unfurling in vibrant colors, a new world cradled by nature's gentle hand. Here at last, they would plant the seeds of tomorrow. The journey's end was also a beginning. Their journey, written among the stars, carved by loss and resilience, ended here. Alta whispered to the heavens, the story of their wandering sealed in starlight. They would live on, bound by the legacy of the bear's guiding light, each of them a spark in the endless night. In the shadow of Mount Elgon, the tribes lived under the watchful gaze of the stars. The ancient wisdom of the heavens guided their steps and warned of dangers unseen. But this time, something new glimmered in the night sky, bearing an omen that none could ignore. A comet, brilliant and fierce, the hunters of the stars called it Neowise. The comet came as a hunter, pursuing the bear's cub, Kochab. To the stargazers, this was an omen, a warning of hard days ahead. They whispered of old tales, of celestial battles that brought both hope and despair. Soon after, the world changed. Winter descended like a relentless predator, dragging icy claws across the land. The hunters searched for prey, but the animals were gone, their trails buried under frost. The land grew silent and the forest empty. Hunger gnawed at the tribes. The earth withheld her fruits, and the forests stood barren. Day by day, hope faded as survival became a distant memory. The people looked to the stars for answers, but only silence answered their prayers. Desperation drives men to dark places. When there were no animals left to hunt, they looked to each other. The strong turned against the weak, breaking ancient laws. The forbidden act was done, and with it, they invited a curse upon themselves. The elders knew the price of breaking the ancient pact. Their voices rose in sorrow, invoking the spirits, but the curse had already taken root, its shadows entwined with their fate. In their despair, they awaited a second comet, Tsuchinshan, the healer or destroyer. It was foretold that when Tsuchinshan came, it would either bring warmth to the land or end the tribe's suffering in finality. With hope fading, the tribes moved northward, seeking any sign of life. Each step was a struggle, a prayer for survival as they journeyed through lands they once called home, now unrecognizable under winter's grasp. At last, the comet Tsuchinshan appeared, its fiery tail stretching across the heavens. Beneath its light, the tribes huddled together, awaiting their fate. Would the comet's warmth awaken the land, or was it the harbinger of a final end? In the wake of Tsuchinshan's passing, the earth softened and life returned. Rivers sang once more, and trees donned green robes. The curse lifted, and with it came a rebirth, a fragile peace woven with the memory of loss and survival. Their journey etched in the stars, the tribes were forever changed. The heavens had spoken, leaving behind both curse and cure. As they moved forward, they carried the wisdom of the stars and the strength forged in darkness. As the unforgiving winter spread its icy grasp over the land, only faint echoes of life remained. Orna, the last woman of her tribe, clung desperately to survival, her infant held close. Alongside a few weary men, Orna sought shelter on the mountain's edge, escaping the perils of the savannah. Yet hunger and cold gnawed at their bodies, hollowing their spirits. For 6 days, Orna had been without food. With the last of her strength, she fed her child before collapsing, her gaze lifting to the heavens, a silent plea for salvation. Then through the curtain of mist, a shadow appeared. From the light he came, his hair white as snow, his skin pale as the moon, seeming as though he belonged to another world. Wisdom beyond time shone in his gaze. He approached the weary men first, offering them food and water, gifts they could scarcely believe. Exhausted, they could only accept, grateful for this mysterious stranger's mercy. Then he turned to Orna. Her time had passed, but in her child, life still flickered. With great care, he lifted the baby from the cold mud and breathed upon it. 3 gentle breaths, as if life itself flowed from his lips. On the 3rd breath, the infant gasped and cried, a sound that broke the silence, a signal of new life. For the first time in days, hope returned to the tribe's hearts. And in that very moment, as if the heavens themselves had answered, the Tsuchinshan comet pierced the night, its light not only heralding the end of winter's reign, but bearing the promise of life renewed. The stranger looked upon the child, their gazes locked in a silent exchange. In that moment, he gifted the tribe a future, and then, as quietly as he arrived, he vanished into the mist, leaving behind only hope. Under the comet's watchful glow, the tribe saw in Orna's child a new beginning. They believed that Tsuchinshan's passing had signaled not only the end of darkness, but the dawn of a new age.